at one point I asked him, I said, excuse me, I'm sorry if this offends you, but may I ask you, what kind of work do you do? And so when I asked him this, he goes, oh, I work at a t-shirt shop on the boardwalk in Venice. And I was like, he's like, yeah, it's super sick, like just on the beach all day basically. And I was like, are you guys hiring? Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to tell you the story of how I moved from small town Indiana all the way to big city of Angels, Los Angeles, California, at the very ripe age of 19 years old. So just a little bit of background. I made this move to California after just one vacation to LA in July of 2015, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I was just so mesmerized. It was just so many different cultures, so fun and vibrant. And if you've ever, been to the Midwest, or if you live in the Midwest and then you go somewhere like California, it's like culture shock, and I was all for it. And so it was like my first vacation as an adult. A friend and I went, and we just had so much fun. California absolutely stole my heart. Now I was 19 at the time, and I was already living in an apartment on my own. I moved out when I was 18, and I always wanted to get my belly button pierced, and my mom would not let me get my belly button pierced while I was living under her roof. And so when I went to California, which I was already living on my own, but I was very inspired by my friend that went with me. Her name's Allison. She had her belly button pierced at the time as well, and we went to Venice Beach and just happened to come across a place that was, where you could just walk in and get your belly button pierced. And I was just like, should I do it? And I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I did it. And so that was like super cool. I was just like, wow, look at me, belly button pierced. And while I was there, met so many really cool people. It just like made so many just had so many cool encounters within like that short 1 week period. And I was like, man, if I lived here, what kind of people could I meet? Like, what could I do here? Like, if I actually lived here. And let's see, is the lighting okay? It's not the best. Sorry, it's like 2:40 in the morning, and yeah, insomnia. We stayed around the Santa Monica area and went to the pier, and there were like street performers and stuff like this. And in particular, I walked by these two guys performing these how would you call them, Mexican mariachis or something like this. And they were singing, or one of them was singing. His name was Jimmy. Then his brother, Danny Rodriguez, was dancing and stuff with him. So met them, and I actually went dancing with Jimmy, and he introduced me to salsa dancing, and I was just like, oh my God, effing so cool. Like, I was so into the Latin stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I could literally do this all the time if I moved here. They don't have stuff like that here in Indiana. They just don't. So yeah, I fell in love with the salsa scene. Whenever I went back to Indiana, I was just like, oh my God, I think I hate it here. I really don't feel like I should be here. And I was an artist, and I am an artist. There's just not like an artist, creative type of vibe here in Indiana like there is in California. It's so different. It's just, if you're creative and you go to California, it's just like, wow. Like, it's just like walking up and down Venice Beach, you just see people selling their paintings, and everybody there is like hustling and trying to chase their dreams. Aspiring actors, models, and photographers, and all of these things. And I was just like, I was all for that life. And so anyway, I went back to Indiana, and I just felt so out of place. And I was like, I started telling my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna move to California. And I don't think she believed me, didn't think I would really do it, but she was like, oh yeah, but she didn't really think I was gonna do it. I started thinking about it more, and I was like, I need to go now. Like, I need to go now. I feel like I'm wasting time here. There's just no need to be here in Indiana. I have nothing holding me here. why be here? And so I looked to see how much it would be to break my lease to my apartment, and it was like $1,500 to break the lease to my apartment. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So I broke my lease and I told my mom that I'm gonna be moving to California in October. And it was July, like I literally just, 4 months. So yeah, I gave myself basically 4 months. And she was so mad. She was so mad. My mom and I are very close, but which is why she was so angry. She reacted very, very out of fear. He was like, "How could you be so selfish?" And I was like, "Well, Mom, I can't. You calling me selfish, but I can't live my life because you're scared something will happen to me if I move somewhere else. I mean, stuff can happen anywhere, and I'm doing this for me, and I'm doing it whether I have your support or not." But I mean, she ended up supporting me with it, but it was definitely a bit of a battle for a while with her, for sure. What I mean to say with this is, even if you have somebody discouraging you, even out of love, I know it was out of love, and I get it. I mean, it was out of love, but don't let anybody discourage you for any reason to chase after your dreams. And my dream was to pursue my art in some way. I didn't know at the time in what way necessarily, but I knew I wanted to be an artist of some sort, and that's what I wanted to do. And I could not do it here in Indiana. Like I said, I broke my lease and I just started to sell everything that I could not fit into my mid-size Mercury Mariner vehicle. And because my idea was I was going to basically just fill the car with everything that I could put in it, and then I was going to ship it to myself once I found a place in California, because I had no job lined up. I had no apartment lined up. I was just going to wing it, because that's what I do. I am very selectively impulsive, but whenever I am impulsive, I'm like really impulsive. Like I'm like, I gotta do it now. Like yesterday, I gotta do it yesterday. Yeah, so I was not playing. Like I sold my bed, I sold washer and dryer. Like I sold everything that could not fit in that car. And so my mom and my stepdad Phil did fly out to California with me to apartment hunt with me. Phil came for like the first weekend part of it, and then he had to fly back early to go back to work. But my mom stayed for like a week, and basically we were in a hotel, and for the first like 4 days we were just apartment hunting like crazy. I had all these things like appointments lined up, and I can't remember how many apartments we looked at, but the ones that I really, really liked, they weren't going to be ready in time, and I had to have a place like now, you know what I mean? 'Cause I was staying in a hotel, and I found one in Culver City, and it was this super teeny tiny bachelor styled apartment, 300 square feet, and didn't have a refrigerator or a kitchen. The only kitchen it had, it was like just a countertop, and it had a sink and then like a little counter space, and that was it. And like super small bathroom and super small closet, and then it was just basically a shoebox. Like it was just like a rectangle, but it was very cute. It was very clean. And I saw it, and and it had a really big window, and which is my biggest thing is light. I gotta have a lot of natural light, and it was a very bright apartment. It was very small, but it was very bright, and that's when I saw it. I was just like, this is perfect. This is perfect. This is all that I need, and I was so excited about it. And like the look on my mom's face was just like, she was like, I cannot believe you're gonna live here. But she was supportive and all this stuff, and so I applied for the apartment, and being 19, I didn't have like any credit, and so it's like I could only get approved if I had a co-signer, and my mom's credit at the time, she was rebuilding, and like it's great now, but my stepdad Phil did have good credit, and he offered to co-sign for me. And I mean, like I was so grateful, and that's something that you don't co-sign for just anybody, because the thing with co-signing is if I decided not to pay my rent, they go back on him, and if he can't pay it, it ruins his credit. So it's a very big thing to co-sign for somebody, and so I'm so grateful for him, trusting me with that. And he told me that he knew that he could trust me. Like he knows I'm a super hard worker and I'm very, very good with money, and so he wasn't worried about it. But I'm very, very so grateful for that. But even with the co-signer, because my credit was non-existent essentially, my deposit was first month's rent, and for this 300 square foot apartment, it was $11.30 a month. That's right, $1,030 per month for a shoebox, and with no kitchen. But I loved it. So I had to give them first month's and last month's rent, and then my deposit was the same amount of rent. So just to move in, I had to give them $3,390. That was for my first month, my last month, and my deposit. And so I will say that I have always been very good with money. I will go into detail in another video as to why that is, but I've always just been very good with money. I've never asked for money. I've never asked anybody for money, and I am very good at saving, and I'm hard worker, and I was working crazy amounts of hours while I was in Indiana, like 60 plus hours a week at a restaurant job, and I had a bunch of money saved up because I never spent money. And I mean, I had almost $10,000 saved up before I went to California. So if you do make a move like that, I do recommend having a good amount saved up, because for instances like this, you really should have a good bundle saved up, because the cost of living out there is ridiculous. So anyway, found the apartment and had to give this huge payment to them, and it was so freaking sketch. I mean, for one, I found this apartment on Craigslist. I feel like I have very good intuition, and I felt like this was okay. I was texting the lady like crazy, trying to get an answer from her if I got it or not. I was waiting for the credit and stuff to go through. It all went through, everything went good, and I just had to give the money. Basically, it was almost like a race, because I was basically competing against, it was me and one other person, and she was essentially saying, whoever can get me the money first will get it. And I was like, I'll be there like now. And I went over there to the office, and it was like, I didn't even see the office. It wasn't even like an office. It was like in some alley. She came out of this door, asked for the money, and I was just like, this is so sketch. I mean, I'm like, I could be literally getting ripped off right now. And I kind of asked her, I was like, where's the office? I mean, I'm sorry, just a little sketch. And so she kind of like, pointed it to it and kind of like opened the door a little bit. And like I saw like a couple people in there, like on computers, and I was like, okay. But my gut told me that it was okay. And so I was like, okay, there it is. And my mindset was, if it doesn't work, then maybe it's just not meant to be. And I'll just go back to Indiana. I mean, I haven't signed anything here. I don't need to, it's a risk. I got approved, and I met her and got the keys, and there we are. I have the apartment and no furniture, no nothing. I have 2 suitcases with me. Oh, I also have my cats with me. That was another reason why I needed at least one person to come with me, because I had 2 cats, and so you can only take 1 cat at a time as a carry-on, basically. So I had to have somebody come with me for the second cat. And so I had my 2 cats, and I had 2 suitcases full of stuff, and that was all that I had with me. So my mom and I went to IKEA. I couldn't really get much. I mean, there was just like no room for anything in there. I did find a sofa, bed, couch thing. It was like a little small sectional couch that pulls up to a bed. So I was like, okay, so I can use this as my couch and as my bed. And it was, this one in particular, it was like an orange one, and it actually went super perfect, because in the apartment they had this beautiful like orangey colored painting hanging up in there, and I asked her if I could keep it. I said, this is so beautiful in here, can I keep this? And she said, yeah, of course you can, that's sure. And so it matched the painting perfectly. And so this couch in particular had been returned, and so it was a little bit discounted. I think it was like $400, and I was like, that's perfect, and it was already put together. And so since I didn't have a car or anything there, I had to have them deliver it. They couldn't deliver it until next day. And so my mom and I, we had to sleep on this hard floor. I felt so bad for my mom. And I think that we bought like some pillows maybe and like some blankets. And that's basically what we worked with. So that was that. And so my mom obviously went home, once the end of the week was up. And she was heartbroken, of course, and it was hard because my mom is like my best friend, but it was just like I just knew that I needed to do this, and my thought was, I can always go back, and if I don't like it, I can always go back home. It's not a big deal. And even if I was to like somehow lose everything and not be able to keep up with rent, I could just break the lease and then move back. And rent is so cheap in Indiana that I could easily just rebuild again. You just can't live life thinking about the what ifs. You just kind of have to think, I can always go back, and I always have the power to change something, and I can always find a way if I will put my mind to it. And that's so true. So yeah, I am in California at this point, and I have no family there. I have no friends. The only friend that I have is Danny, who I met while I was on vacation, and Danny and I had been keeping in touch like via like Snapchat and like social media and stuff like this. He just became a very good friend of mine, and I'm very, very grateful for the kindness that he showed me. Like whenever I arrived to California, he had this super cute drawing made for me, and he gave it to me, and it was just so cool. And he told me that Bubba Gumps on the Santa Monica Pier was hiring, so I applied, and I just kind of kept bugging him. I was like, hey, like I've worked in kitchens for years, like I'm trying to get a job like, yesterday, like, can you please interview me, basically. And they did interview me, like very shortly after I moved there. I wanted to work in the kitchen, and they were gonna pay me like $12 an hour, which to me, I was like, oh dang, like I hadn't been paid $12 an hour at that point. I think the highest I had been making was like $10.50 or something like this. But also, cost of living in Indiana is significantly less. And so I was like, oh, $12 an hour. Like that was like what I had my budget based on. I was like, I could do that. That's another thing. The budget was ridiculously tiny. And like I said, I'm very good with money, so I can make myself live on anything, literally. But I got the job, and I started working like that week, I believe. I didn't have a car, and so I had to take a bus to Santa Monica on the days that I worked. And I had never used a bus before, and the first time I used the bus, I was like, I better test it out and make sure that I'm getting, going the right way, and I get it figured out. So I got on the bus. There was a bus stop right outside my apartment, like literally right there. So it was like perfect. It was like just a perfect location. The first time I got on the bus, it was going in the opposite direction, but I thought that's what I thought that it was the right direction. I didn't know. And it was going, and then, everyone gets off the bus, and this lady the bus driver comes to like this place that's like, it's like empty, like not even anywhere near anything. I don't even know where it was. And she opens the door and says,
all right, this is the end of the route.
And I was like, this doesn't go to Santa Monica? She's like, it does, but it goes the other way. And I was like, right, so can I just stay on since you're going towards Santa Monica now?
She's like, nope, that's not how it works.
And I was like, I literally almost cried. I'm telling you, this is like out in the middle of nowhere. Like there was like nothing around, I don't even know where it was. I couldn't even tell you today, but there was like no buildings, no anything, like no restaurants. It was just like, I don't even know where it was. I felt very like nervous getting out where there was like nobody around either, because I was just like, what if someone just like snatches me up? I was tripping a little bit. I was like, I can pay again. I'm so sorry. This is literally my first time on a bus. I'm new here, and I just need to get to Santa Monica. And she's like, nope, gotta get off. And I was just like, you yeah, so welcome to LA. So I got off and I was like about to cry. I had no idea where I was. So thankfully I did have my phone on me. So I was like, I had to call an Uber. And I was like, I was trying to save money. I was just like having to spend money on a freaking Uber. I was like so upset. Yeah, that was my first experience using the public transportation. Yeah, but now I know. Now I know. So finally, after a week and a half or so, my car finally came and it had all my stuff in it. And my dad had put a little mini fridge in there that he had because I did not even have a refrigerator in this apartment because it was so tiny, had like nothing. So I had a mini fridge for the first year that I was in California, just a little mini fridge. And so it was cool. And then yeah, so I just started unpacking everything, and not that I had that much, but just started putting all my clothes in the closet and all the things, you know? So as I mentioned before earlier, being introduced to the salsa scene, I just fell in love with it, and I was just like wanting to go salsa dancing all the time. I found a couple places like the Granada, LA. That was my favorite to go on Saturday nights, and it was really cool because they had a salsa lesson before the club opened that's free with the admission of the club. And so I would just go there every Saturday and take the little mini lesson. And then there was a couple other places through the week that I would go to that would have like the same concept. They'd have like a free lesson before the club opened. That's just how I learned, and I would just go once or twice a week, every week, and I loved dancing. I just fell in love with it. It was so fun, and it was just so like nourishing for the soul. What I just looked forward to every week. So I was going dancing and stuff like this, and then I was still working at Bubba Gum's on the Santa Monica Pier, and I was looking for a different job, and I ended up applying to Chase Bank and got accepted, but they had training that I had to do. Well, what happened was I actually got in a car accident, and it wasn't my fault. I was coming through, they were coming here, and they tried to turn in front of me, and as I was passing, like they just like got me on the end and totaled my car basically. So my car was totaled, and I had just done like the first day of the training, like the day before, like that day I was coming home from that, and I was like, oh my god, I missed the last day of this. I mean, I need this job. I hated the bank job. I hated it. It sucked. It sucked. It sucked. It sucked. It sucked. Did I have my motorcycle then? No, I didn't. Nah. So I started working at the bank, and I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. And so as I was working there, there would be this guy that would come in, every week or every 2 weeks or so. And, he's just like surfer-looking dude, kind of a little raggedy looking, and he would just be depositing these like really large checks. And I'm like, and he's very friendly guy. And so he'd always come to me, and because I was a teller. And at one point I asked him, I said, excuse me, I'm sorry if this offends you, but may I ask you, what kind of work do you do that allows you to make this type of money? It was like over $2,000 or so every paycheck, and it was something like that, and that was just like not something I was even close to making. And his name's Cody, by the way. And so when I asked him this, he goes, oh, I work at a t-shirt shop on the boardwalk in Venice. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's super sick, like just on the beach all day basically, and it's super cool vibes and all that. And I was like, are you guys hiring? And he's like, yeah, I could get you an interview. Yeah, like come through. I'll give you, gave me his information, and then I met up with him and the owner of that particular store. Went to the beach and interviewed with them. He hired me. He said I can pretty much start working right away. Went back to the bank, put in my 2-week notice. Basically, he made it where I got paid for those 2 weeks, but didn't have to work. I don't know how, but it was like, whoa, what the heck? When does that happen? But apparently at Chase Bank that happens. And so not only did I get the money for that, but then I got the money for while I started immediately working at the beach. And I told him, I was like, hey, like I actually can start working right away because my job's not gonna make me come in and work. And so I did. I started working right away. And that's probably where I'm going to end this vlog. You know, stay tuned for part 2 because when I started working at the beach, so much stuff happened. Working at the beach was so lit, and like my Snapchat was always lit. I have so many videos and I want to share those with you guys, and so many funny stories. And I didn't even get to say like what my dream was necessarily. I think I said like I was wanting to be an artist, but long story short, just to sum it up for this particular, I guess episode, in the long run, I wanted to be a photographer and a retoucher, and so I started doing photography and stuff like this. So I started like shooting people, and I started going to the beach, and I started like looking for people to shoot on Instagram, just like any pretty girl that would let me take pictures of them, and that's just how I started practicing. I just started practicing in natural light, and one of my first dates that I went on, his name was Eduardo, and he was a photographer, and like he was like a legit photographer. Like he was doing it full time, like working with an agency, and this guy's work is effing sick. And like, I knew nothing about photography at that time. Like I thought I did, but I did not know anything. He inspired me so much. And we stayed friends. But yeah, I was very super inspired by Eduardo. And one of the things that he said to me it gave me such a shift in my perspective and in my reality. And there was one time we were hanging out, he's showing me his photography and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I love this photo, like where did you take that? Do you have a studio somewhere? And he was like, no, I took that here in my living room. I was like, what do you mean you took it in your living room? And I'm telling you, I did not know anything about photography. I literally would take my camera outside, and like I didn't know anything about studio lights or nothing like that. And he was like, yeah, so like I have some studio equipment, and I just set it up here, and backdrop and lights, and here we are. And I was like, you can do that? I was like, you don't have to like rent a big studio to be a photographer like that. So it was just like such a mind shifting. It was just so like revolutionary for me, and so that stuck with me. And then whenever the time came that I could afford to buy my own like studio equipment, and when I had eventually moved into a different apartment that allowed me to have the space, which was after the first year of being in California, which I will go into that later into another story, I bought my own studio equipment, and then just started reaching out to girls again on Instagram and to shoot. And then once I started posting photos of those results, I had a makeup artist reach out to me, and she's like, hey, like I love your work, you want to work together? And I never worked with a makeup artist before, and I was like, yeah, I'm down, bet. And so worked with her. Her name was Nicolette, and she's still today one of my favorite makeup artists to work with. So essentially I just kept doing test shoots, and eventually I was able to reach out to modeling agencies, and they would send me packages to pick out models that I wanted to shoot with. And then I'd have a bunch of makeup artists reaching out to me, they want to shoot, and then hairstylists eventually reached out. And it's just like this whole like collaboration. Like I was working like 50-60 hours at the beach, and then on my one, maybe here and there 2 days off from the beach, I would do 1 or 2 photo shoots each day, each time, and then through the week I would just like edit the photos at night, because whenever you're like really young like that, you just have like that intense energy that just never goes away. And like I have insomnia now, and did then, and so I would go and go and go, and it was just like constantly go. And so I just kept shooting. I eventually got better with my retouching, and I ended up meeting with a photographer, and he taught me so much. But once I got linked up with him, I literally it was like overnight went to being full-time retoucher. And this was like in 2017. No, this was in 2018. So this was like several years into my California adventure, but I'm just kind of giving a brief, spark notes on, the beginning to the end, essentially, or to the middle, I suppose. And yeah, so as I went to California to pursue my art, and I came out of it being able to do my art full time, and I'm still not it's like I feel like only part of the goal is accomplished at this point. But yeah, essentially by age 22, I was able to start my business full time, and that's just like really cool, you know. I'm just so grateful for that. I'm very glad that I made that big move to California and just took that risk. So this is part one of my move to California story, and this is the first part plus a little bit of Sparks notes to where I ended up getting with my art and stuff like this. But in following, I guess, episodes, you could say, I want to go into more detail about some more personal things, and then some more details about the photography, and just some more fun stories and all of that. So if you would like to see those videos and other content that I will be putting up, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and leave a comment. Like, have you ever thought about moving somewhere out of your small town city? Or if you live in the big city, have you ever thought about relocating? Or have you ever taken a big risk like this? And are you thinking about doing it? Are you scared? Do you have questions that you would like me to answer? And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and until next time. All right, it's 3:51 a.m. I think it's time to go to bed. BTW, I'm doing a social media detox. I started last night, so November 13th, doing a 30-day social media detox, and I will be uploading a video about that. The only thing that I'm allowing myself to do is make YouTube videos and make content to post once I get back to social media. But I'm taking this month to focus on creating content for YouTube, because that's really where I want to put my focus in for now. Essentially wasting too much time on that, and I will go into detail about that once that video comes. So if you want to see that video, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and here we are. So yeah, that's just a little foreshadowing for what is to come, and there is so much to come, especially since I'm gonna have so much free time to do it, because apparently I waste a lot of time on my phone and I don't realize it. So I cold turkey, I'm just like, yep, I'm doing this, and 30-day detox, deleting it off my phone, not messing with it. So stay tuned for content, and yeah.